So this just happened, and I find it really interesting enough to want to share right away. I was on a walk with my dog along the river that I live near, and I just got up to walk my dog, for the sake of going for a walk. But as soon as I started walking, I had an inner voice, an inner knowing that I would be finding a feather. And this dates back to last fall when I had the psychic reading, during which time I was told I was a twin flame. The twin flame was the person who I was asking about. And that kind of started off this whole twin flame awareness, which gave an explanation to something I've been dealing with for a really long time now. So during that reading, too, the psychic flipped into a medium role, which she said was really unusual because the presence of both my grandmothers, who have both passed, came to her and they had messages for her. It was really overwhelming. I started crying. She was able to identify their personalities, and it really validated the twin flame information she gave me. That being said, she got a bunch of other stuff wrong in the reading. Anyway, I digress. So one thing she said about one of my grandmothers was that that grandmother would be leaving me the feathers. And I didn't really know what that was in relation to. And the psychic clarified that if she hasn't already been leaving you feathers, she will be leaving you feathers as a sign that she's watching out for me. And so what proceeded to happen was I started synchronistically coming across feathers, and not just in a normal way, but I started finding that the discovery of the feathers would link to twin flame thoughts I had in my head as I was walking. So for instance, I was on this one walk and I was thinking about twin flames and my relationship and my role and letting go, and I got to a really positive place. It was like one of those aha moments where I just felt a lot of joy and love and peace in my heart, and looked down and there was a feather. So that's the kind of synchronistic feather finding I was coming across. And then, of course, I remembered what the psychic said, and I started to take these feathers as signs that I was on the right path. And I have a collection of these feathers. Every time I found one of these special feathers, I'd keep it. So you can see I've decided to add a couple different photos in this video, and on one of the or a few of the photos, you'll see several feathers, and some of those are part of this collection. So this has been just over a year now and there's probably less than 10 feathers. Anyway, there hasn't been a feather for a while, and so I started this walk today, and I just had this inner knowing that I would be finding a feather. So the inner knowing was so strong that it literally pulled me on my path. So I went along this one trail that I haven't walked on for some time, like a really long time, probably since the winter. And I walked and walked and walked, and I just knew I was almost laughing to myself, like I know I'm going to find a feather. And came out from the trail onto this big clearing right next to the river. And as I came out of the trail and the huge clearing and riverbed was before me, I saw this one point and my eyes landed on it, and I knew that I had to walk to that one point. So it was right up next to the water's edge with some grass, river grass that had grown up and dried because the water had receded since it's winter. And I just marched straight to that spot. And then I stopped. The voice, my knowing, said stop. And, on one hand, I'm half disbelieving what's happening, thinking this is all just my imagination. I'm not actually going to find a feather, not with these very specific directions and commands. And so I stopped and I looked down at my feet and I didn't see anything. And I rotated to the left. And as I rotated to the left, I almost came around 3/4 of the circle, and I spotted this white, fluffy, pure white feather sitting there on the river mud that had somewhat partially dried because of the cold weather. no other feathers around, just this very fluffy, beautiful feather. Very enticing to want to bend down and pick it up, which I did. And here's where things, well, it's strange enough, but then got even more strange. I picked it up and I realized it was actually two feathers. And how I reached for it and picked it up, the way they presented to me was almost identical to a symbol that had been shown to me in a dream shortly following the psychic reading, where this symbol had appeared on a book in my dream. And it was through this book that my twin flame and I, the symbol, which looked like two, kind of like, how do you explain it? Well, just as you could see in the feather, how there's one connection with two parts coming up. And in this case, they make a heart, but as I picked it up, they actually came out. So kind of like a two-leaf clover, I guess, was the flame on the book in my dream. And this dream had happened almost a few nights after I'd had the psychic reading last fall. And I dreamt that I was sitting around with my twin flame and his wife. And the wife was getting all the attention, and there were some books on the table. And I'm a writer, and I have also been inspired to write a book because of my twin flame. And his wife didn't want to pay attention to the books on the table. And I felt, quiet and reserved and wasn't saying anything. And I think in the dream he looked at me. Then all of a sudden, one of the books revealed this two-leafed kind of clover, like this, I think you get what I'm trying to say. And it suddenly grew out of the book like 3D and pulled my twin and I into the book or this other dimension, which I'm now realizing are the Akashic Records. And we went down this hallway and we proceeded to have this really kind of very intimate interaction, not sexually, but emotionally, where he kind of opened up to me about like feelings of inadequacy and asked me to help him. And anyway, so after, there's a lot of other stuff that happened, but after I had this dream, I went back to the psychic and I'm like, okay, that twin flame thing you had, well, now I've dreamt about him and there is this symbol and all this stuff happened. And she said that is symbolic of the twin flames. So fast forward to today, I pick up this feather, and as I pick them up, they looked almost identical to all. I immediately went back to that dream and the symbol. So here I am finding in feather form the symbol that had been shown to me in the dream over a year ago, or maybe, no, it was just slightly over a year ago. And I picked it up and almost laughed because the sheer intensity and conviction of the knowing I had that I would find a feather, that it likely would have something to do with my twin flame connection, because they have all had something to do with that connection. And the fact that I found two small, beautifully formed feathers together that came up as one as I picked them up, and then mirroring the twin flame symbol I had in the dream confirmed by the psychic. And then when I placed them down on the table, they formed a heart. It's just so beautiful. And I don't even know what to say, just apart from being so grateful for Spirit talking to me, for confirming that I'm on the right path, for just giving me the information that there's something beautiful happening, and that there's just no way of denying this because of like everything I've described right now, how it's just another sign along a journey that spans so much time, and how this particular sign and symbol has linked so much together, and confirmation that I am on the right path. And I just want to thank everyone who's been commenting, taking the time to comment and really open up about their own experiences. And I also feel that I'm being called to really, do what I can to help people. And I am not in a position where I can, well, I really want to be able to help. And I know that the separation from my twin is so that I can grow into my role as a healer. And that's something that I want to start offering to people. So my Akashic Records reading is still it's in development. I've had definite results already. It's like an intuitive channeling when I can access certain information. I've helped give people information they needed to understand the pain they're in and to help clear the block. So basically just channeling and giving them the information and the tools so they can basically clearing out some roadblocks and validating how they feel on the spiritual level. So that's what I'm going to be offering, what I am offering, but I just want to thank everyone who's sharing with me, because I am, in cases where I can give you the information, I'm going to just reply to you, refer you to other resources that have helped me. But there's a couple people who I'm just feeling strongly that I'm being called to help them. So I'll be contacting individual people and seeing if there is a way that I can actually channel what I feel I'm being called to do. And so this is still in the experimental phase. I obviously am just at the beginning of this, but, please keep sharing. I'm going to keep helping as much as I can. And this isn't a financial incentive. I'm not, I have, I guess eventually if it's going to be a healing modality that, if I would love to be able to move into it and help more people. And at that point I would have to charge. But since I'm very much in the apprentice kind of training stage still, then I would be really honored if I contact people to ask them about doing like a practice reading or an exploratory reading. If you're open to it, let me know. And feel free to contact me as well. So my email is posted in the information on this. And just about back to the symbols and the symbolisms, they're out there. And the more open we are, the more likely we will be to see them. So just listen to your knowing, trust your instincts. And if you're only tuning into my videos for the first time, I encourage you to there's the real kind of chronological procession here where I start with a lot of anger and confusion, and I'm moving into such a place of knowing and healing. And I'm finally realizing that there's a point to all of this, and I really want to help bring other people there. And not only that, but in talking with all of you and hearing from you, it just brings even more validation to my own journey, which then is so empowering. So we're all here to empower each other and make sense of these, what would otherwise be totally nonsensical things happening in our lives. So peace and love, and I'll be making another video soon.